Hi, welcome to Regular Magazine. I'm Jason, and this week we're going to take a look at the Dark Age and Medieval Market Stall set from Victrix Miniatures. Now, this set has come out as part of their Pillage range, which is their Dark Age skirmish war game. Now, this set will cover anything from the Dark Ages right through to the medieval period. So it's designed to go through quite a large chunk of history, but I'm pretty sure you could pretty much pull it back slightly if you're doing sort of late Romano British period. So sort of like 300 AD, you could get away with using it in a sort of a provincial sort of town or village. And likewise, you could go slightly beyond the medieval period with this kit, sort of into the sort of early sort of 1600s. So you can push it, whilst it's designed for Dark Age and medieval, you can push it either side, I think, and make use of this kit in those periods as well. So let's crack on and take a look at what's on the sprue. So as normal with Victrix kits, they come in a poly bag rather than a box. Let's just rip this off a minute. Up there. And we get a number of sprues for our market stall. Now, we get a simple set of instructions, and that tells us how to put these kits together. They're not complicated kits by the look of these instructions. They're fairly straightforward and should be fairly quick and easy to put together. Now, we get 4 sprues, 2 main ones, which are our market stalls and bits and pieces. And then we get a sprue of barrels and a sprue of sacks. Now, let's just move that one away. So our sacks, these will be the same sprues because they do a pack of sacks. So this will be the same sprue that's in that pack. So we can basically use these as scatter terrain and make small little piles of sacks which can be dotted around our location in and around the sort of market area. Likewise with the barrels, we get a number of barrels on there with different types. So we get these much longer ones, then we get these what I would say were typical looking barrels, and then we've got these ones on the side here. Now I'll get close-ups of all of this afterwards and drop them on top. Now, so what do we get on our main sprue? Well, we get our market stall. So we've got the roof and the back for our market stall. We've also got benches on here. Got a number of benches types. We've got the frame for our stalls as well, and then we've got some a mix of accoutrements to go on there. We've also got what looks like a cooking setup, so like a cooking pot setup, and then we've got an oven here. We've then got what looks like a carrying cage for what I can only assume is the chicken we've got up here. We then got things like foodstuffs on here. We've then got stools. We've got smaller benches. We've got pots and pans to add on to our stalls, just to give it that sense of lived in and sort of life feel, rather than just an empty stall. We can put stuff on there to make it look a bit more realistic. So we've even got plates with food on, jugs. We've got this here, which I think we'll get a close-up of all of this. I think these may be like beehives. I could be wrong, but that's what I think they are. So yeah, it's quite an interesting sprue, and I kind of think that most people will want to pick this up because it's nice scatter terrain, but it adds that element of realism and life to your tabletop. It's not just a couple of buildings with surrounding a road or a track. You can actually bring it to life a bit more with the sort of things you'd see in daily life, like a market stalls, bits and pieces like sacks, piles of sacks outside of a building waiting to be taken inside. Things like that. It's everyday items that make it more interesting for the battlefield, and it makes really good scatter terrain as well to sort of fight in and around. So let's move on. So this is designed for use with their game Pillage, and it's for Dark Age right through to the medieval period. But I think you could probably pull that back slightly and go, if you're like late Roman period or provincial, or like in Britain or Gaul or something like that, and you're setting a gangs of war scenario in a sort of provincial small town, then I'm pretty much sure you can use this as scatter in that as well. It wouldn't have been too different, in all honesty. Market stalls are market stall, and the sacks of grain and barrels and that are, they're pretty much standard. So sort of that later period, sort of say from 80, 300, 350 onwards. And I think you could probably take it at the other end into the early 1600s if you were doing a skirmish game in Britain or provincial Europe in a small village, small town. You could probably continue using it for a bit post that, slightly post medieval as well, because I don't think, like I said, I don't think it would have changed that much. A market stall is a market stall, and various bits and pieces wouldn't have changed that differently in that time period. So whilst it's mainly for Dark Age and medieval, there are, I think, either side of that, there are some scope for using it outside of that period as well. And like I said, I think this is really good scatter. There's a lots of things in this kit that you can make your battle scenes look really interesting, and there's a lot of scope for more narrative play as well. I mean, there's no reason why, if you're doing narrative play, you couldn't say that one of your fighters suddenly grabs up the bench, picks up the bench, and swings it at his opponent, and making use of the scatter that way, or picking up a pot and throwing it to distract a player that's an opponent that's charging in towards them. So there's lots of things there for narrative players, which I think is great, because I think when you've got skirmish games, I think having that scope for more narrative storytelling makes those games much more interesting to play. Anyway, that's all for this week. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.